Welcome, grade 5 to science class. You should never walk on counters. So today we are learning about bacteria. Now that word itself is such a interesting word because you could spend probably a whole year studying bacteria and what it is, all the different bacteria in the world. There's millions and billions of different kinds of bacteria, and also the things it does. It's a very interesting thing, and it's a living organism. And the difference between this and plants is that, so bacteria is not a plant, because plants use sunlight and water to grow. They use that and turn that into food. Bacteria cannot produce their own food that way. They have to get food from other things. We're going to be looking at that. They have to live off something that's dead or else alive. They can't just take food and make their own food. Kind of like animals and people. We're like that too. We can't take sunlight and water and make our own food. So bacteria is a very interesting thing to study. And this lesson is just a very brief overview of bacteria. So, first of all, bacteria is a single-celled organism so small you can only see it with a microscope. This is a microscope. Did you ever use a microscope? We've used the digital one here at school, but we've never used this one. I actually just got it today and was playing with it, and it'll be here next year for us to use. It'll be waiting. It works. I was looking at the leg of a fly, and it was extremely hairy. So I didn't know and it makes it so big, it almost looks like you're walking through a forest of hairs. Not quite. But this is a microscope, and the only way you can see bacteria is through one of these. It's too small to see with just your eye. The reason is because bacteria is made up of only one cell. So singular is bacterium. Like in your new words, just one would be a bacterium, and it's only one cell. Remember how small a cell is. So bacteria is one of the smallest living things. And you need a microscope to see it. Now there's good things, there's bad things about bacteria. Most of the things about bacteria are good. When you hear the word bacteria, you're like, oh, you don't want bacteria, right? Well, good luck sorry to let you know, but in your body, I found some interesting facts about bacteria. I can tell you them now. So if you took all the bacteria in your body and weighed it on a scale, it would be about 4 pounds. Think about that for a little bit. Isn't that crazy? Because bacteria is so small you need a microscope to see it. And if you took all the bacteria in your body, it would weigh 4 pounds. 4 pounds is a good chunk. There's a flashlight here. It's a decently heavy flashlight. This one's probably only about 2 pounds, I'm guessing. So 4 pounds of bacteria, that's a ton of bacteria. Well, not quite, but almost. There's more bacteria in your mouth than there are people in the world. So that means there's over 7 billion bacteria in your mouth. Like just taking one bacterium and putting them all together, it'd be more than 7 billion bacteria in your mouth. Isn't that crazy? So you can't really get away from bacteria. And it's good you can't, because you need it. The smell of rain. After it rains, did you ever smell that nice smell? Especially in the springtime, except today it's snowing, it's not raining. Snow smells not very nice in April, I'll tell you that. I mean, looks. But that smell you get from rain, you know what I'm talking about. Well, that smell is caused by a bacteria called, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's called Actinomycetes. Something like that. Some big long word. That's a bacteria that makes that smell. Isn't that neat? And if you have a clean mouth, so right after you brush your teeth for 5 minutes before you go to bed, you're still going to have between 1,000 and 100,000 bacteria on each tooth. Not on all your teeth, on each tooth. You're going to have between 1,000 and 100,000 bacteria. Remember, bacteria is plural. So, bacteria is everywhere. You can't get away from it. Why do you leave things, why do you have a fridge? Why do you have a freezer? you have a fridge and you have a freezer because you want to beat bacteria. Think of yourself and bacteria as in a race, because bacteria lives off a lot of the same food, or lives off basically any living thing. So it is in a race with you to try to get that food first. If you have some cream, right here I have some cream, you don't leave this sitting out overnight and the next day, right? Why do you put cream in the fridge? And why does cream have a smell? It's because of bacteria, right? Dairy products are known to go bad quickly because bacteria really loves cream, probably just as much or more than you. So you put it in the fridge because that slows down the process of bacteria spoiling it. Once bacteria gets to it and spoils it, then it's no good. It's sour, right? There's always bacteria in milk, unless you sterilize it. Pasteurized milk would probably not have any bacteria. Might have a little bit still. But, so that's why you refrigerate stuff. That is why you put stuff in the freezer. Now, freezing and cooling food does not kill bacteria. It just slows it down. Because you can even have stuff in the freezer and after a while it goes bad. After a long time. It keeps it good for quite a while. The fridge, not as long. But if you took all the stuff in your fridge and set it out on the counter till it went moldy, a lot of the stuff wouldn't take long, would it? That's because bacteria is hungry and it beat you to the food. So eat your food really fast or else put it in the fridge. One of those two, or else bacteria is going to eat it on you. So what are some things, you're obviously going to be reading this lesson and it's just going to give you a skim of what bacteria is, but there's helpful things and harmful things with bacteria. And I want you to get, grade 5, I want you to get a pen and a paper or else a pencil and your notebook, your science notebook, and I want you to write these notes down as we go over them. So get that ready. Now bacteria, we're going to be looking at that. Actually, why don't we start on that before we get further. But for some questions for you to think about, think of stuff that rots. Wood rots, food rots. Is rotting harmful or helpful? Now, when stuff is rotting, it stinks, right? For example, food. Go up to your slot bin if you have one of those. It's kind of stinky up there. There's flies buzzing around, and there's worms and all kinds of pretty looking bugs. So, is rotting helpful or harmful? Something for you to think about. And also, is food that is prepared by bacteria, did you know bacteria prepares some of your food? Or some food? Is it safe to eat? Think about that too. One more question. What are some ways bacteria are different from mosses and ferns? You just learned about mosses and ferns. What are some ways that it's different? There's some similar things. There's a lot of similar things, but bacteria is different from mosses and ferns. So, you got your pencil and your notebook now. Let's go over these notes. For A, so bacteria needs food, warmth, moisture, and darkness to survive. It's probably the main difference between plants and bacteria. Plants need light to survive. Bacteria likes darkness. So inside your body is dark, right? There's probably no flashlights in there, no light bulbs. So inside your body is a perfect spot for bacteria because it's dark, there's food, it's warm, your body's warm. If it isn't, you're dead. So hopefully your body's warm. There's all kinds of moisture, right? So your body has all 4 of those things inside of you. So that means bacteria is just going to thrive so good inside your body and outside too. So bacteria needs those 4 things to survive. B, bacteria live off dead or alive organisms. So plants, animals, other stuff like that, right? That's organisms, that's what that is. Dead or alive, doesn't matter. It lives off some. There's all kinds of different strains of bacteria. And once you get that one down, C, bacteria can spoil food and help make food. So it's kind of a friend and an enemy to us. We think of it as an enemy a lot, but bacteria is more often helpful than harmful. And you're going to learn why. D, bacteria can be killed by heat, chemicals, or light. Those are 3 different things that can kill bacteria. And man has come up with all kinds of things to kill bacteria where it isn't wanted. Because some places you don't want bacteria, right? And the last point, bacteria can help break down dead matter. That is your answer to that question I asked, is rotting helpful or harmful? Well, just think a little bit. If stuff didn't rot, we would have dead trees, dead animals, hopefully not dead people because those should be buried. All kinds of stuff that isn't nice. So, for example, a deer gets hit on the road. Not a very nice picture, is it? But this happens. And after a while, it gets eaten by other things or it rots. If that didn't happen, think of all the dead animals along the road. Think of all the dead stuff that doesn't rot. Because rot, bacteria cleans up dead things. That is one very good important thing about bacteria. It helps break down dead matter. And that helps the soil, because if the trees and the leaves in the forest didn't break down, they never rotted, well, first of all, you'd have 50 feet of dead trees and leaves that you couldn't even walk through because it never rotted. And also, when it rots, it goes into the soil and makes it better, makes good soil. Bacteria can also help plants to grow. So some plants will thrive better if there's bacteria in the soil. Well, they need bacteria in the soil to survive. And also, talking a bit on the killing bacteria. So think of one example where you don't want bacteria. Now obviously when you cut yourself, that exposes it to bacteria getting in, right? That is why you wash your hands. That is why if you cut your finger open, you wash it really well with soap and water and then put peroxide on it and it stings like crazy, but you do anyway because you're tough and you know you should. That kills the bacteria around it so it doesn't go inside your body in case there's some harmful bacteria, because bacteria is in there already. Like there's 100,000 bacteria on your teeth after you brush it. And so what is one example of keeping things sterile? Like in your vocabulary word, sterilize is to kill or remove all the bacteria from something. So to take it away. No bacteria. When you open up your box of bandages, all the separate bandages, band-aids, whatever you call them, are in its separate little package and you have to rip it open, right? And it's sealed. If it's not sealed, it's not sterile. The reason they do that is to keep it sterilized from all the bacteria. Then when you put that band-aid on your cut, then you're not adding other bacteria that could be harmful and get in your body to it. It's a clean, sterile bandage. So that is why it's important for that. So, I should wrap this up, but read over the lesson, and you only need to do a few of the questions today. You're going to finish it tomorrow, then also do the review, and it would be fun. I don't know how we could do this, but activity 2. It says, get a small jar with a snug fitting lid, some water, some dried beans, and a medicine dropper. Fill the jar halfway with tap water, drop a dozen beans into the water to soak. Let them soak several days without a lid, then put the lid on the jar and keep it in a warm place. After a few days, open the jar and use a medicine dropper to remove a few drops of water and scum from the surface of the lid. So after this time, it's going to be slimy, right? Place several drops on a microscope slide and observe it under both low and high power. So this microscope can go, so the smallest one is 4 times, the next biggest is 10 times, and the next biggest is 40 times. So that means if I would look at a fly through the 40 times lens, it would make that fly leg 40 times bigger than it actually is. That's what that means. So you look at that water through a microscope. What do you see? You're going to see something, and that's going to be the bacteria. You're going to be able to see the bacteria. So that'd be really fun to do. I might do that here and then see if I can get some pictures. I don't know how that would work. I might be able to get some pictures through the lens if I'm lucky. But that'd be really fun. Or we could just wait till next year and do that. We'll see. See what happens. So, make you feel like a scientist when you use a microscope. They're a lot of fun to use. So back to bacteria. Now you know what you can do in your lesson. You only need to do a couple questions, read over it, take your time to read it. Don't rush through it and read it, because science is something that has so much information, and if you want to learn it, then there's so much more you can learn about that subject than just what's in your lesson. Because bacteria is a huge subject, and we're only touching on a little bit. I'm going to show you, just rip that right off the blackboard like I'm strong. 2 pieces of tape, oh, takes a lot of muscle. So, I'll just bring this up closer. It shows the structure of a bacterium. Remember, bacterium is a single form for bacteria. So, this is kind of what they look like. At least this one does. There's all kinds of different bacteria shapes, like it shows in your books, but there's a nuclear material, it's called, in the center. These little string things are called flagella. There's a sheath, like the covering around it, the cell wall. So this is one cell, because remember, bacteria is made up of one cell, and the cytoplasm, that's called. So those are some names in the structure of bacteria. Now here, I think, no, that is algae. Oh, talking about your other lesson, remember that algae Spirogria, however you say it, is that algae, and then there's some more here and some more there, and anyway. So anyway, that is the structure of a bacterium, of one bacterium. And there's like 100,000 of those on your tooth, on each tooth. So that means if you have 10 teeth, that means there's how many? You figure it out. So bacteria is all over the place. We can't get away from it. So it's going to help us if we can learn what it does, the harmful sides of it, because there are a lot of harmful bacteria that can make you sick. They can infect you and make you sick. Talking about bacteria, so right now we're right in the middle of COVID-19, which the coronavirus is a virus. Now there's bacteria and there's virus. They can both make you sick, but there's a bunch of differences between a virus and a bacteria. Bacteria can reproduce just by living inside of its food, so it can reproduce itself. Virus cannot. There's a special process it has to do to make more of itself. So there's some main differences between a virus and a bacteria. So if you want, you could research that and find out what those are, because right now the coronavirus is not a bacteria, it's a virus. It's known as a virus. So bacteria is a different thing, and also, you probably don't believe this, but there are some good things about viruses as well. So we hear virus like, oh, virus, especially after this, we're going to be like, oh, we don't want to have anything to do with the virus. But there's even some benefits of viruses. Obviously not this virus that's going on right now. That's a very harmful virus, very contagious. So wash your hands very much, like everybody is saying. It's actually important. So, harmful, helpful bacteria. Is food that is prepared by bacteria safe to eat? I want you to find that answer in your lesson. You don't have to let me know. You can if you want, but you don't have to let me know what you find. But is food that is prepared by bacteria safe to eat? What do you think? So hopefully this video helped you out a little bit in your science lesson of bacteria, and hopefully you have fun with it. Hopefully you wrote down these notes, and hopefully, a whole bunch of hopefullys, but hopefully you have a great day.